In the 1950s, eccentric inventor Adolf Grimal moved to the Florida Keys to explore and photograph the fabled coral reefs, but instead he became fascinated with tropical fruit. For the next 40 years, Grimal defied the odds and developed his 2-acre property into what became known as the Grimal Estate, an edible garden oasis on Big Pine Key. Following his death in 1997 and the destruction of Hurricane George the following year, the once famed beauty of the Grimal Grove quickly became forgotten, and for the past 15 years this piece of Keys history has faded under the weight of neglect. But now a new organization sees the potential of this unique land and has set their sights on restoring the legendary Grimal Grove.
Everybody had an interest in the Grimal estate because of what he did. He sort of did the impossible and improbable. It was like widely considered back then that you couldn't grow this stuff in the United States first, and it was widely considered that you couldn't grow it in the Keys. He was up on an upland, rocky area. You got to understand that the Florida Keys has the least amount of rainfall in all of Florida. But we get all of that rainfall like in 2 months, 3 months tops, in a rainy cycle. And a lot of these plants are grown on alluvial plains or like old ancient riverbeds and more loamy soils. We're on a rock with a high pH, and the depth of the soil varies from inches to maybe a foot. Now what he did, this is hard limestone rock, carved out, chipped out, took advantage of depressions and things like that, and collected water, enough water, and also he made planting holes, and then he made soil. So he was pretty self-sufficient, sustainable out there, and that alone was pretty amazing. Some of the things that were there and some of the things are now, a lot of things are not identified because we don't have examples anywhere else in the country on a lot of those plants, and that's what made it so rare. And it's still rare there because I think we found 5 or 6 we haven't identified yet. At one time, you had a cashew, the anthomoyas, the soursops, the custard apple, the sugar apple. He was the only one that actually grew durians here. He had 3 different types of durian. He had black sapotes, persimmons, mobalos, the mangosteens. He had the only mangosteen grown in the United States at one time. He had 3 different types of bananas, cherry de Rio Gans, Garuchamas, Patambas, Serenum cherries, Jaboticabas, national fruit of Brazil. He had macadamias. He had fruit from Thailand that no one knew how he got it. He had Malay apples, balimbis, carambolas, even had a carambola that he created and was called the Grimal. He had his own little Grimal carambola. Fairchild's Tropical Garden used to run tours from their garden clubs and things like that down to Grimal State because it was, once again, tropical. It was the only true tropical fruit-growing area in the United States.
The buses from the organizations used to come down and park here and would go in when things would be blossoming, and he'd allow them to pick this, pick that, and they'd be in there for a couple hours at a time, all the way from Miami, Homestead. I see this, I could cry. I could cry to let this go this far. There must be some organization, and here you are, finally.
So what did it look like when it was completely cleared?
Anything that grew in there, it bared fruit. Anything. It bared fruit or getting ready. Pineapples. Oh, he used to set them out on the road here when he couldn't get rid of enough of them.
I first heard about the Grimal Grove while I was working for the Department of Children and Families. With their support, I started a volunteer program to create community gardens for low-income families. During that time, a colleague of mine told me about the Grimal Grove. When I first stepped foot on the property, it was a little overwhelming. At the same time, I could envision what it once was and the potential it has. So I began to visit the property in my free time, cleaning, clearing, rehabilitating the property. When I realized the significance of the Grimal Grove, I involved my organization, the Growing Hope Initiative.
It's this beautiful piece of property. It needs some work, but I think that the notion of re-empowering people to reclaim their food system, and the notions of food justice and the education that comes along with it, and the ideas of organic farming and spreading that into people's backyards, and really this is a very American idea of self-sufficiency that is both good for the planet and really good for the people. And hopefully it'll spread and become, the wave of the future. And I think that that is the goal of this piece of property.
Our plans are to create an edible community park, a farm, and an educational center for lifelong learning opportunities. With the support of the county, the Growing Hope Initiative would like to work with local businesses, schools, and other stakeholders to save the Grimal Grove.
The Extension Service can help the Grimal Grove project through the program that I run, the Environmental Horticulture Agent. To have a location like Grimal Grove in the lower Keys could be a good educational spot for us to provide these resources to our community.
We focus on trying to get as much local as possible. We don't have a lot, too much available to us in the Florida Keys, so we work with the farms in Homestead, which is our closest farmland. We've just opened an organic market because there was a lack of anywhere to buy real healthy food. Now I'm truly inspired to come up out here and see this land here, and to hear what it used to be and what it could be again, to actually have the access and to show what we can grow here in the Keys.
Yeah, the Grimal estate is definitely, deserves to be rehabilitated. That heritage needs to be preserved for generations, absolutely.